I was approached by another extortionist today. Does she say that?
No, she's talking very carefully.
And you say carefully, but isn't carefully the same thing as code?
No, they're two totally separate things. You know the difference?
You weren't really giving her money for a TV, were you?
Giving her money for a TV?
This TV is probably going to be about $5. Okay. I need you to bring cash tonight.
I wish she picked another object on planet Earth other than TV. But TV is code for absolutely nothing. There is no code in this case involving TV. And you keep circling and circling and circling TV, you're wrong.
Is it a coincidence that the repair of the TV that you bought Wendy as a divorce gift because it was cheaper than hiring a hitman is your sister's alibi for the murder, and then your mom brings up TV first call on the wire?
It's not an alibi for a murder. She had a broken TV. You got to ask Lincoln who threw the remote at the TV.
Was it a coincidence? Is the TV thing a coincidence? That's what I hear you say.
Oh, that the repairman was there that day?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that is a coincidence for sure. There's a couple of coincidences in this case.
I'm sorry, I cut you off.
I said there's a couple of coincidences in this case. I mean, she had people send her an email to go buy a bottle of Bullet bourbon for their Stock the Bar party, and she was driving to a liquor store to buy a bottle of Bullet bourbon on that day, at that time, and her friend sent the email, and you have the email in evidence. Like, is that a coincidence? Yeah, coincidences happen.
And the you might not be the right Katie talk, that doesn't seem to really fit with your theory of the case, does it? What was your explanation for that? Why you kept saying you might not be the right Katie? I mean, she's definitely the right Katie, right?
Absolutely. She knew it was. I was implying it was her. I was just trying to say I'm not setting you up, but I need your help.
On call B, you call your mom back, and you say, you probe her a little bit, and ultimately you say, you think someone's trying to blackmail you? That's crazy. Why does it sound like this is something that's new and unfathomable to you at that moment?
Well, because I wasn't even following what my mom was talking about on the first call. And on the second call, when she shocked me when she said that. And I'd been extorted before, and her saying to bring cash, everything just didn't sound right.
Could we play clip 4, please? This is from Dolce.
What? Sorry, from what?
Clip 4 from Dolce.
Okay.
What if I told you that a man could order a paella chef for a birthday dinner, talk about renting out a property, and complain about a difficult tenant, and in doing all of that, allegedly give the order for a murder? What if the most carefully constructed cover in a decade-long conspiracy was not a web of outright lies, but a set of perfectly ordinary conversations that prosecutors believed carried a devastating hidden meaning? What if the cleverest thing about this alleged plot was not the method, not the timing, not even the money, but the language itself? This is the story of Dan Markel, a Harvard-educated law professor who loved his 2 young sons more than anything in this world. A man who gathered friends for Shabbat dinners, who filled his office walls not with diplomas, but with his children's drawings. A man who never saw it coming. And it is the story of Charlie Adelson, a wealthy South Florida periodontist, a brother, a son, who, according to a jury of his peers, turned ordinary words into a death sentence. This case has been covered before, many times, but what you're about to hear is different, because we're not just telling you what happened. We are walking you through every layer, every conversation, every crack in Charlie Adelson's armor, from the moment this investigation began to the moment the courtroom fell silent and his future was sealed. We are reading between the lines. And when you reach the end of this video, you're going to ask yourself a question that does not have a simple answer. A question that might stay with you for a very long time. Before we go any further, if you're new here, this channel is called Dark Trail Files. What we do here is different. We do not skim the surface of these stories. We go deep into the evidence, the psychology, the moments other channels skip over. We sit with the uncomfortable questions. We do not rush to conclusions. We follow the trail wherever it leads. If that is the kind of true crime content you have been searching for, hit subscribe right now and turn on your notifications. Because we cover cases like this one, cases that are still developing, still unfolding, still raising questions regularly. Join this community. The trail does not end here. Before we say another word about Charlie Adelson, we need to talk about Dan Markel. Because in a case this complex, With this many defendants, this many phone calls, this many courtroom battles, it can be easy for the victim to become a footnote. Dan Markel was anything but a footnote. Daniel Eric Markel was born on October 9th, 1972, in Toronto, Canada. He studied at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, earned a master's in political theory from Cambridge University, and graduated magna cum laude from Harvard Law School in 2001. He clerked for a federal appellate judge, worked at a prestigious Washington law firm, and in 2005 joined the faculty of Florida State University, where he held the distinguished D'Alembert Professorship. He authored a book, wrote for the New York Times and the Atlantic, and founded Prof's Blog, one of the most respected legal scholarship platforms in the country. But here's what his mother Ruth wants people to know most. Not his credentials. His mother wants people to know that Dan Markel was a devoted father. His office walls were not covered with diplomas. They were covered with drawings made by his two little boys, Benjamin and Lincoln. He called Ruth every single day. He hosted Shabbat dinners. He gathered people. He had once considered becoming a rabbi. He was, by every account, a deeply good man. He met Wendy Adelson during law school. They married in February 2006 with the announcement in the New York Times. They both joined FSU's faculty in Tallahassee. And for a time, they built a life together. But marriages fracture. In September 2012, Wendy filed for divorce. According to court documents, Dan had returned from a business trip to find the house emptied, the children gone, and the divorce papers on his bed. What followed was a contentious custody battle. Wendy wanted to relocate to South Florida, closer to her parents. Dan refused. In June 2013, a judge sided with him. The boys would stay in Tallahassee. In 2014, Dan filed one more motion to restrict Donna Adelson, Wendy's mother, from unsupervised visits with his children, citing concerns about her behavior toward him in front of the boys. It would be the last legal filing he ever made. On the morning of July 18, 2014, Dan dropped his sons at preschool, went to the gym, ran errands, and called his mother Ruth, as he did every single day. During their call, he put his uncle on to wish him a happy birthday. Then he said something Ruth has never forgotten. "Ma, I have to get off the phone. I have to make another call." She considers it a blessing their conversation ended when it did, because moments later, Dan Markel pulled into his garage at his home on Trescott Drive in Tallahassee's Benton Hills neighborhood, and he was shot twice, once in the forehead, once in the left cheek. A neighbor heard the shot and looked out to see a silver pine Mica Toyota Prius backing out of the driveway. By the time paramedics arrived, Dan Markel was mortally wounded. On July 19th, 2014, he was pronounced dead. He was 41 years old. His boys were 4 and 5. Investigators noted immediately nothing had been taken. Dan had not been robbed. He had been followed, tracked, targeted specifically. This was not random. This was a contract. Cell phone records, GPS data, surveillance footage from buildings and city buses, SunPass toll records, motel check-in logs, rental car contracts. Piece by piece, investigators built a picture. A green 2008 Toyota Prius had been rented in North Miami on July 15, 2014, by a man named Luis Rivera. Rivera and Sigfrido Garcia drove north from Miami to Tallahassee, arriving July 16th, checking into a motel. On the morning of July 17th, their phones pinged near the gym where Markel worked out. They were mapping his routine. On July 18th, they followed through. This was not their first visit. Evidence showed a prior trip to Tallahassee in June 2014, reconnaissance. A witness told investigators they had seen Rivera in possession of a revolver that same trip, the same type of firearm used in the murder. In May 2016, Garcia was arrested. Rivera, already in federal custody for his involvement with the Latin Kings gang, accepted a plea deal, second-degree murder in 19 years, in exchange for a name. He said the woman who hired them was Catherine Magbanua, the mother of Garcia's 2 children. And he described the motive with chilling simplicity. The lady wants her 2 kids back. She wants full custody. Magbanua was arrested in 2016. And here the story shifted dramatically. Because Magbanua was not just the mother of Garcia's children. At the time of the murder, she was also dating Charlie Adelson, the brother of Dan Markel's ex-wife, Wendy. She was the bridge between the Adelson family and the men prosecutors allege they hired to carry out the killing. She was, according to investigators, the link in the middle of everything. To understand what allegedly happened, you have to understand the Adelson family. Donna Adelson was the matriarch. She and her husband Harvey ran a dental practice in South Florida. Charlie was a periodontist, a specialist with his own successful practice and, by all outward appearances, a very comfortable life. Wendy, Charlie's younger sister, had met Dan Markel in law school, married him, moved to Tallahassee, and built a life there. Prosecutors described Donna Adelson as intensely controlling. They said she was deeply involved in every aspect of Wendy's life, her career, her relationships, her choices about where to live. During Donna's own subsequent trial, Assistant State Attorney Sarah Dugan told the court that Donna had very strong opinions about all of the decisions in Wendy's life. Email evidence presented at trial showed that the Adelson family's stated motivation for wanting Dan removed was their desperate desire to relocate Wendy and the grandchildren back to South Florida. Investigators wrote in court documents that the family's desire to bring Wendy home was the driving force behind everything. In 2014, as Dan filed that motion to restrict Donna's unsupervised access to his children, the pressure reached a new level. Prosecutors argued that Charlie Adelson became part of the solution Donna was looking for, not simply because of his own feelings about the situation, but because of how deeply Donna's world was woven into his. Prosecutors said Donna complained to Charlie about everything, and Dan Markel, in her constant narrative, had become an obstacle that was not going away. According to the state's theory, Charlie used his relationship with Catherine Magbanua to set the plan in motion. He allegedly promised $100,000 for the killing, paid through Magbanua to Garcia and Rivera, and afterward, he took deliberate steps to manage the fallout. Here is what we know for certain. Money changed hands. Prosecutors demonstrated that Catherine Magbanua received a significant sum from the Adelson family after Dan Markel was murdered, money with no legitimate explanation. And the very first call Sigfrido Garcia made after the shooting was to Catherine Magbanua. Not a friend, not a family member. The woman prosecutors argued was the bridge. If the killing had nothing to do with the Adelson family, why was Magbanua the first call? Why did money flow to her from that family afterward? And why, when investigators set a very specific trap, a trap designed to get conspirators talking, did the Adelson family respond in a way prosecutors said revealed everything? By early 2016, the FBI had developed their theory. They had Garcia and Rivera. They had Magbanua. They believed they knew who had hired them. But they needed more. They needed to hear from the Adelson family directly. So they designed an operation sometimes called Tickling the Wire, making suspects believe there is a new threat urgent enough to get them talking. On April 19, 2016, an undercover FBI agent posing as Aladdin King's gang member approached Donna Adelson outside her South Beach condominium. He handed her a piece of paper. On it was a news article about Dan Markel's murder, a phone number, and the figure $5,000. He acted like a man whose brother had not been paid for his silence, a reference to Rivera already serving time. Just want to make sure you take care of what he is going through the way you're taking care of Katie, the agent told her. According to the agent who later testified, Donna was visibly startled. The FBI had court-authorized wiretaps on both Charlie Adelson's and Catherine Magbanua's phones. Thousands of calls, intercepted over the following 30 days, were recorded. The very first call Donna made after the bump was to Charlie. She told him what had happened. And then Charlie began making calls of his own. What you are about to hear is one of the most pivotal moments in this case. Charlie Adelson is on the phone. The FBI is listening to every word. What follows is not just a conversation. It is evidence that prosecutors said revealed exactly how much Charlie Adelson already knew about what had happened to his former brother-in-law.
Hello? Hola, diga. Hello, diga.
Who is this?
Who's this?
Someone's been calling my family and trying to figure out who this is.
In reference to what, man?
Someone by the name of Sammy called.
Yeah, that's me, man.
All right, what's going on?
Well, what's going on is my brother Tato. Okay, my brother Tato has not been taken care of. His family's not been taken care of. I talked to a dentist. Why are you calling me? Who are you? I gave the number to a lady.
I don't know Tato.
You don't know Tato? I'm
No.
sure you know Katie and Tuto. They've been taken care of since the family problem been taken care of up north.
I don't know who you are.
You don't? Well, this isn't going away, my friend. Because let me tell you something. I was at Broward with Tato, and he told me the whole story. He told me nobody was taking care of him. Nobody was taking care of his family. The family was taking care of Katie and Tuto, and nothing's been taken care of with Tato. So we know what's going on. And Tato needs to be taken care of. Do the right thing. The lady already has the paperwork. She knows what I'm talking about. We know Katie. We know Tuto. We know we've been taken care of.
All right, let me look at
No more f***ing around, man. No more f***ing around. This ain't going away. You guys need to do the right thing for Tato. That's my brother, man. That's my brother, and he needs to be taken care of. His family needs to be taken care of, just like Katie and Tuto have been taken care of.
I've never met these people, but let me call you back, okay?
That's bullshit, man. You know exactly what I'm talking about. You know this lady. I don't know your relationship with this lady, but we know what the f*** is going on. This ain't going away. Take care of Tato just like you take care of Katie and Tuto, man.
That recorded exchange was central to the prosecution's case. When the undercover agent referenced Rivera and suggested that someone had not been compensated, Charlie's response was telling. He did not say, "I don't know what you're talking about." He engaged. He understood the reference to Katie. He told the agent he had never met these people, but said he would call back. And then he did. What struck prosecutors was not just what Charlie said. It was what he understood without being told. He was not confused. He was managing. Then came Dolce Vita. The day after the bump, Charlie Adelson met Catherine Magbanua at Dolce Vita, a restaurant in Miami Beach. Two undercover FBI agents, each carrying concealed recording equipment, followed them inside. The restaurant was crowded, noisy, coffee grinders, blenders, ambient chatter. For years, the recording was too difficult to decipher. A forensic engineer called to testify at trial described the audio as frankly a mess. Charlie Adelson walked free for 6 more years while investigators worked with what they had. Then, in 2022, a forensic audio specialist used advanced software to enhance the Dolce Vita recording. Parts of the conversation that had been buried in noise became clear for the first time. And what investigators heard led directly to Charlie's arrest. In the enhanced recording, Charlie tells Magbanua that if investigators had any real evidence, they would already be at the airport. He speaks about phones potentially being tapped, about being careful, about not talking to law enforcement. He is heard referencing being involved in something. And according to testimony at trial, he made a comment about the undercover agent who had approached his mother, a comment that agents and prosecutors took very seriously. Charlie Adelson was arrested in April 2022. He was charged with first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and solicitation to commit murder. Nearly a decade after that July morning in Tallahassee, the case against the man prosecutors believed had set everything in motion was finally before a court. Charlie Adelson's trial opened in Tallahassee in late October 2023. His defense team, led by experienced former federal prosecutor Daniel Rashbaum, built a clear and bold argument. Charlie was not a conspirator. He was a victim of extortion. Magbanua, Garcia, and Rivera had committed the killing and then turned to him for money, threatening his life if he did not pay. He paid not to cover up a crime he had planned, but to survive a situation he had been dragged into against his will. Charlie testified in his own defense. He acknowledged paying Magbanua after the murder, but he said it was because she told him he had 48 hours to pay 1/3 of $1 million or he would be next. He said he told her he could only manage $138,000 up front. He said she asked if he could pay the rest in $3,000 monthly installments. It was a dramatic account, and by some observers' assessments, Charlie delivered it with more composure than expected. What you are about to see is Charlie Adelson in court, speaking about his possible involvement in his former brother-in-law's murder. He is composed, articulate, presenting his version of events. Watch the language he uses, the framing he chooses. Remember this moment, because everything the prosecution brings out next is a direct response to exactly this.
Did you have any input on the decision to change the boys' names from Markel to Adelson?
Absolutely not.
Do you and Donna have to protect Wendy?
No.
Does Wendy appreciate everything you and Donna do for her?
You got to ask her. I mean, she's my sister. I love her. I try to give her my best advice I can. And if I care about her, and I give her my advice, whether she takes it or not, is up to her. She's a grown woman.
Let me ask it another way. Do you feel, or isn't it true that you don't feel that Wendy appreciates everything you and Donna do for her?
My sister had no idea what I've been through in the last God knows how many years, and what I wake up worrying, am I going to get killed? Am I going to get arrested? And she knows none of it. She's just going around her life, and I had somewhat of an innate anger towards her. You know, probably unjust because she didn't know what happened. But yeah, I was upset.
And weren't you saying on the wire that she doesn't appreciate what you and Donna have done for her?
I don't know if I said that she doesn't appreciate what I've done for her, because I never did anything for her.
Okay, so that was my next question. What have you done for her? Nothing?
Other than give her advice and care about her, be a big brother that loves her.
Would you say Wendy's a little bit spoiled?
In some regards, I mean, she gets a lot of help, for sure.
Is she a little less savvy about how the world works than you are?
I don't know. I mean, you got to ask her.
Could you trust Wendy with a secret that could ruin your life?
It's not a secret. It's something that would get me killed, so I didn't want to tell her.
Can we agree that she obviously knew something about this crime?
She found out when she came to court. I never told her anything.
I'm talking about the murder of Dan Markel. She knew something, right? I mean, it's not a coincidence she went to the crime scene, is it?
You're talking about the route that she took that day?
I'm talking about her pulling up to the crime scene tape.
She never went to the crime scene. She was going to buy a bottle of liquor that, coincidentally, the person sent her a stock the bar party buy a bottle of bullet bourbon that she was going to pick up. She wasn't driving to a crime scene, and I think she made that clear too. Nobody knew a murder was taking place.
She pulled up to the crime scene tape, Dr. Adelson.
She didn't pull up to the crime scene tape. She was driving down the street and then had to make a U-turn. It was blocked off. But she wasn't going to.
She couldn't help herself.
Nobody knew a murder was going to take place.
She exposed you all to some degree by those actions, didn't she?
No, not at all.
And then she threw you under the bus in her interview, didn't she?
Nobody knew a murder was going to take place.
She knew her husband had just been shot, and they were asking her who would want him dead, and she said your name. Are you mad about that?
No, she said a lot of people's names.
Well, she said yours in the first 25 pages of a 5-hour interview. Isn't that true?
I wasn't there for the interview.
But you've reviewed it in preparation for your trial, haven't you?
I actually don't know if I've seen her interview.
There was a lot of questions of you about, didn't you do this murder with Wendy? Doesn't the state think you did this murder with Wendy? Are you familiar with your charges in this case?
Yes, I'm very familiar with my charges.
All right. And who are you alleged to have done this murder with?
I'm alleged to have done this murder with my sister, my mom, and my dad.
Would it refresh your recollection to review a copy of the indictment in this case?
I'm a slow reader, but I could read it if you want.
May I approach your honor?
Okay.
This is the official charging document in your case, Dr. Adelson. What does it say in reference to who you are alleged to have committed the murder with?
This is, what day is this? 2022. Oh, they think I did a murder with Katie.
Catherine Magbanua.
Yes.
Anybody else?
Give me a minute, I'll read. They got Luis Rivera in here. They got Sigfredo Garcia.
As being alleged to have committed the murder with you?
Did I read it too quick?
Take your time. Should just be at the very top of each charge. On or about July 18th, 2014, did unlawfully.
Okay. Yeah, Katie. Catherine.
Okay. Are you mad that Wendy hasn't been charged and you have?
No, I'm mad that I got charged for a crime that I didn't commit.
Do you have any innate anger with Wendy over that fact?
No, not at all.
Are you pissed that she told all that stuff to Jeff Lacoste?
I don't think she said that to Jeff, but I wasn't there.
How did Lacoste know about the celebration dinner?
That we went out to dinner. She got sick, so she may have told someone that she threw up.
And then what, he just added the part about you referring to it as a celebration?
I never referred to it as a celebration dinner. I picked my sister up. I said, where do you want to go to eat? She said she wanted pizza or sushi. I said, I know a great sushi place. We went there. We didn't have reservations. We ended up sitting at the bar for an hour waiting for our table. And she had 2 drinks and got sick.
She vomited on the dinner table. Or at the dinner table.
Yeah, she got her to the bathroom. But yeah, she doesn't drink alcohol. So those 2 drinks, and I think on an empty stomach, I think she got really sick. But there was no celebration dinner. It was the first time that she actually really left the house since she got back from Tallahassee. She was devastated.
Did you say something to her about the murder of Dan Markel right before she vomited?
Absolutely not.
Do you remember what you said right before she vomited?
She was I think she said, I don't feel well. And I say, oh no. And then she threw up.
Before that?
No, I think I said, oh no. And then she threw up.
Before she announced that she was going to be ill.
Right.
Do you remember what the conversation was?
Just how's the food? How's your? I mean, we were probably about halfway through dinner. If you look at the timetable, we weren't there long.
Why did you brag to Jeffrey Lacoste about your connection to the Cuban criminal element?
Never said that to Jeff Lacoste.
So he's making that up?
If he said it, I never said it.
Well, you were in here when he said it, weren't you?
I heard him say it, yeah. But I never said that to him.
On one of these calls, and it's in the context of talking about Dave and Wendy's relationship with Dave, you tell your mom that you've already gone above and beyond for Wendy. Was that a reference to having her ex murdered?
No, that's me getting tired of this Dave stuff. I mean, Dave's a great guy. I mean, everyone who meets him likes him. He's not only super successful, but he's very low-key, like T-shirts and jeans kind of guy. And he loved my sister's kids. I mean, if you listen to The Wire, the point I was making is not how successful he is. The point I was making is that my nephews farted on him, and he thought it was funny and didn't bother him. And he also has 3 young kids, the same ages as my sister's 2 young kids. They actually met in line when my sister was registering the kids for school, and it was they've been friends for years. So I thought it was a great opportunity for my sister to have a great guy in her life. And I was getting sick and tired of Dave calls, and the wires started in April. My sister's birthday's in April, Dave's birthday's in April, so you got a ton of Dave chatter on this case. But believe me, I'd go crazy if I was talking about Dave like this all year long.
So that's a no. You did not reference having her ex murdered
Absolutely not.
when you said
No.
you've already gone above and beyond.
No, that
when
was
you-
me getting sick of dealing with the Dave stuff. As great of a guy as he is, I was still getting sick of it.
When the $1 million offer was conceived, do you recall whose idea that was?
My parents.
Why was the relocation worth $1 million?
Well, it was actually I was going to pay a third, so I only looked at it as that way. Why was it worth it?
That's the question.
Because it was going to help my sister out, and it was going to be it was going to give her a good opportunity for a good job down here, and she was going to be around family, and family's important, so that's why.
Isn't it true that financially you came out ahead on this deal as opposed to if you had coughed up the third of the $1 million offer?
How in the world did I come up ahead? This is the craziest thing.
Financially, you paid $138,000, then you paid $2,000 a month plus the $1,000 payroll amount. You're still about over $100,000 ahead financially than if you had coughed up the $333K.
No, I would have been better off paying. And first of all, I never paid for murders. This is a crazy question, but paying $3,000 a month for life is not anything anybody wants to do.
I didn't say anything about paying for a murder. I said you paid $138,000, which you did.
I got extorted for $330,000.
The defense worked. Rashbaum challenged witness credibility, questioned the integrity of the evidence, and focused relentlessly on the absence of any direct evidence. No fingerprint, no document, no weapon connecting Charlie personally to the killing. But the prosecution had something that Rashbaum could not completely dismantle. The phone calls, the money, the patterns, and the code words. This is the moment the case became something truly extraordinary. Not simply because of the evidence itself, but because of the question it raised. A question that cuts to the very heart of how human beings communicate when they know they might be watched. On the wiretapped recordings, Charlie Adelson and Catherine Magbanua discussed what appeared to be landlord-tenant issues. A difficult tenant, whether it was worth paying the tenant to leave. The risk that if you paid once, they would simply keep coming back. Prosecutors told the jury that tenant was code for the blackmailer, the person connected to the conspiracy now making demands. And the debate about whether to pay, prosecutors argued, was actually a conversation about how to handle the ongoing threat to the conspiracy itself. Then there was the paella. In conversations between Donna and Charlie, prosecutors presented what became one of the most discussed pieces of evidence in the entire saga. The two were recorded discussing plans to hire a paella chef as a surprise for Harvey Adelson's 70th birthday. On the surface, a family planning a celebration. But prosecutors argued that within these ordinary-sounding conversations, there were layers of meaning. References to people, timing, and logistics that corresponded to the conspiracy they were alleging. The prosecution's position was direct. People engaged in serious conspiracies do not speak openly. They use language that sounds normal to anyone listening. The fact that conversations sounded innocent was not evidence of innocence. It was, prosecutors argued, evidence of sophistication, of careful, deliberate planning, of people who understood they might be monitored. The defense countered just as directly. A conversation about paella is a conversation about paella. A discussion about tenants is about tenants. The state, they argued, was forcing a sinister interpretation onto completely innocent exchanges because that interpretation fit their narrative. They were asking 12 jurors to convict a man based on what prosecutors imagined his ordinary words secretly meant. And that, the defense said, was not evidence. That was speculation. What you are about to see is the moment the coded language argument came to a direct confrontation. Charlie Adelson on the stand, facing the prosecutor's challenge head-on. Watch how his demeanor shifts. Watch what happens when he is told that the state believes his ordinary words carried a hidden, devastating meaning.
I was approached by another extortionist today. Does she say that?
No, she's talking very carefully.
And you say carefully, but isn't carefully the same thing as code?
No, they're two totally separate things. You know the difference?
You weren't really giving her money for a TV, were you?
Giving her money for a TV.
This TV is probably going to be about $5. I
Okay.
need you to bring cash tonight.
I wish she picked another object on planet Earth other than TV. But TV is code for absolutely nothing. There is no code in this case involving TV. And you keep circling and circling and circling TV, you're wrong.
Is it a coincidence that the repair of the TV that you bought Wendy as a divorce gift because it was cheaper than hiring a hitman is your sister's alibi for the murder, and then your mom brings up TV, first call on the wire?
It's not an alibi for a murder. She had a broken TV. You got to ask Lincoln who threw the remote at the TV.
Was it a coincidence? Is the TV thing a coincidence? That's what I hear you say.
Oh, that the repairman was there that day?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that is a coincidence for sure. There's a
And
couple
all
of coincidences in this case.
I'm sorry, I cut you off.
I said there's a couple of coincidences in this case. I mean, she had people send her an email to go buy a bottle of Bullet bourbon for their Stock the Bar party, and she was driving to a liquor store to buy a bottle of Bullet bourbon on that day, at that time, and her friend sent the email, and you have the email and evidence. Like, is that a coincidence? Yeah, coincidences happen.
And the you might not be the right Katie talk, that doesn't seem to really fit with your theory of the case, does it? What was your explanation for that? Why you kept saying you might not be the right Katie? I mean, she's definitely the right Katie, right?
Absolutely. She knew it was. I was implying it was her. I was just trying to say I'm not setting you up, but I need your help.
On call B, you call your mom back and you say, probe her a little bit, and ultimately you say, you think someone's trying to blackmail you? That's crazy. Why does it sound like this is something that's new and unfathomable to you at that moment?
Well, because I wasn't even following what my mom was talking about on the first call. And on the second call, which she shocked me when she said that. And I'd been extorted before, and her saying to bring cash, everything just didn't sound right.
Could we play clip 4, please? This is from Dolce.
What, sorry, from what?
Clip 4 from Dolce.
Okay.
Even if they had any evidence, the first words out of your mouth on this clip, even if they had any evidence. No. Strike. The quote is, if they had any evidence, we'd have already gone to the airport. And I know you already testified about this, but does an innocent person say, if they had any evidence?
Right. Katie's saying it's the police, and I'm saying that we're innocent. They're not going to have any evidence to show we were part of something that we were part of. If we had any part of this, we'd be going to the airport right now. And
Isn't it true, doctor, that they're not going to have any evidence because you were careful?
No, because we weren't a part of this.
You were smart.
No, we weren't a part of this.
You walled yourself off from
I was
the
sure
killers.
they're not going to have evidence to show I did something I didn't do. So we're not running to the airport.
And you're untouchable, right?
No, we didn't do a murder. I wasn't part of a murder. There's no reason to run to the airport.
In the next clip, you're discussing what's going to happen if this person that did the bump goes to the police. And you're going through all these scenarios, these possibilities.
Wait, if he goes to the police?
Yeah, the blackmailer goes to the police. They're going to say, where's the weapon? And he's not going to know. He's just going to have hearsay, basically. Someone told me they did it. It's not going to be enough to get the investigation anywhere. Why are you thinking through the possibility of the blackmailer going to the cops if the blackmailer doesn't have any dirt on you to take to the cops?
I wasn't thinking about the blackmailer. What I was trying to say is I don't know anything about Sigfredo. I don't know anything about this crime. I was trying to tell her that I'm harmless. I don't have any knowledge of what went on. Like, the last thing I wanted is that now that she's saying it's the police, is someone to come and kill me and think I'm some kind of loose end. So that's why I'm saying that.
But that's not what you're saying. You're saying if this is a person that Luis Rivera ran his mouth to, and they go to the police, it's going to be worth zero. Because they're not going to know anything other than, hey, my brother told me this.
I don't know if I was saying with someone who knows Luis Rivera. I was trying to make a point that I don't know anything.
And then you suggest what they would have to do is get him to wear a wire and get the person to confess, and that's probably what this could be, an effort to do, right?
Well, they're thinking that we were part of a murder. So this was the same thing I said before, is that this is their theory. So this is a police tactic, and it could be either a bad guy or the police, and this is how they're pursuing it.
Exactly. So as long as you keep your mouth shut, you can get away with murder, right?
No, not at all.
Isn't that what you told Ryan Fitzpatrick?
No, Ryan Fitzpatrick is someone who stole over $500,000 from me.
That's not my question, sir.
Sorry.
Did you say that to Ryan Fitzpatrick?
No, never. Never at all.
Why do you go into so much detail about rental car examples? Let's start with, strike that. Can you agree that the Prius, you knew that the police were looking for a Prius at the time you met at this Dolce Vita restaurant?
I think it had been released at that time.
All right, and you heard the recording. You're arguing. Let's play the clip. This is going to be clip, I think let's play 7 and 8, please. Dolce.
Because the fact is, like, even if, let's say, I just got in my car, and then I go ahead and I get in the car, and I go, and you're dating in the car, I go, yeah, Katie was in my car, and he got out, and she did this horrible crime. Okay, if they come and they get the DNA in the car, they go, yep, Katie was in my car. No, Katie sat in the car for 2 minutes, got out of the AC, and then got out of the car. Katie has nothing to do with you guys and broken me. Outside of that, there's no evidence. Okay? You know, if you have a car and you can link this person to renting that car that you okay. But you have to prove that they were also driving that day and rented it and lent it to a friend. What if you rented a car and I go, Katie, can I borrow for the weekend? I'll bring it back on Tuesday. You go, yeah, sure. So you rented the car. So you've been in that car. I drive into fucking Orlando. I rob McDonald's in Orlando. I come back and I go, here's the keys, Katie. And you go, okay, thanks. Yeah, you rented it. But what if you were fucking out all weekend and you didn't even know I took your car? I did something and I brought it back. Okay. My point is, I don't have any knowledge of what went on. Evidently, this person is either pretending to or does. I don't want someone paying business here. Okay.
Sounds like you're saying even if they track down the Prius, even if there's DNA or fingerprints in the Prius, meaning like they can link someone to the Prius, that's not going to be enough evidence to make any arrests in this case. Is that what you're saying?
No, not at all. What I'm doing is I'm restating.
You've answered my question.
Can I give you an
On redirect, you'll have an opportunity.
Well,
my question was.
One moment.
My question
We're not
was-
just wildly arguing. Mr. Adelson, please answer the question.
okay.
I can just ask you a yes or no question.
Please allow me
and
to answer your question.
Okay.
Can I?
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Knock yourself out.
What I was saying to Katie is that the information she had just told me in the car about Sigfredo not being there when the crime was committed, she told me that Sigfredo was high on drugs at the hotel and that Luis had rented a car and that he's the one who killed Dan. And I'm restating to her that I don't have any knowledge of what went on, and that all I know is that Sigfredo wasn't even there when this happened. So that's what I'm restating to her.
That Sigfredo can't be caught even if he's connected to the crime, to the car?
I know that Sigfredo wasn't the one who killed Dan.
Okay.
When the prosecutor pressed Charlie on the suggestion that his conversations were coded, that his ordinary words concealed a murder plot, he did not quietly deflect. He pushed back. Hard. He insisted the state was twisting innocent conversations, that investigators were hearing what they wanted to hear, that there was no code, no hidden meaning, only a family talking the way families talk and a government determined to build something out of nothing. It was a forceful moment, and it was exactly the kind of moment that divided observers. Because there are two ways to read that anger. A genuinely innocent man, frustrated and outraged at being misrepresented, or a man who spent years carefully managing his language, watching those carefully chosen words being unpacked in open court and reacting because he never imagined standing in a courtroom having every syllable dissected. Which interpretation is right? That question sits at the center of everything in this case. Here is what made this case uniquely difficult for the defense. It was not just one suspicious call, not just one allegedly coded conversation. It was a pattern of calls, of meetings, of money, of behavior that viewed together, prosecutors said formed one coherent, unmistakable picture. And among the most powerful pieces of that pattern was not a conversation in euphemisms, but a call between Charlie and the woman prosecutors said was his direct link to the triggerman. A call the jury would hear in open court, recorded, preserved, impossible to explain away. Stay with us. That call is next. Among all the evidence presented at trial, one of the most compelling pieces was a recorded phone call between Charlie and Catherine Magbanua, captured on the wiretap following the bump operation, played in open court for the jury. In the call, Charlie references what happened to his mother, Donna being approached by the undercover agent. He uses language that prosecutors argued showed specific, detailed knowledge of the situation, not the confused, frightened language of someone learning for the first time that something terrible had once been done in his name. He referenced the possibility that his name had been mentioned. He said, 99% sure when I was talking to her, she said it's mentioned your name. Prosecutors argued that the specificity of his knowledge, his apparent familiarity with who was involved, why demands were being made, what the stakes were, was incompatible with someone who had been extorted out of nowhere. A man who had no involvement in a murder would not respond to news of a shadowy blackmailer with that level of informed understanding. He would be baffled, shocked. He would call police. He would not begin managing the situation with the quiet competence of someone who had been expecting this moment might come. The defense's response was consistent. Someone being extorted by people connected to a real murder would naturally appear to have knowledge of that murder because Magbanua had told him what had happened. His apparent understanding came from what he had been told, not from what he had planned. He was not an architect. He was a target. What you're about to hear is a direct recording. The phone call between Charlie Adelson and Catherine Magbanua played in open court. Not testimony, not interpretation. The actual recording. Listen to the language. Listen to the tone. And ask yourself what you would conclude if you were sitting in that jury box.
You may continue with publishing the next call.
Thank you, Judge. The next call is BB.
What happened?
Somebody called my dad's office today looking for him, saying that they dropped off some paperwork to him last week, and there was a phone number on there, and it's actually the person was Erica, and then Erica called my mom up because she's like, normally I wouldn't call you up, but I got a strange phone call.
Where's the phone number that they're calling from, though?
I can ask Erica, but Erica said, yeah, I've been in the Sandy, called the office this morning, saying that I left some paperwork with Dr. Adelson last week, and I left a number on there, and he needs to call me at that number.
No, somebody's like fucking parading your bones and shit.
Well, this is the third.
Call the number. Call the number. They don't want to call on my fucking phone.
I mean, there's someone who wants to be called back. Let's put it that way. Do you still have the number?
Yeah, well, obviously that number, nobody picks me up.
Well,
That's not a working number. It's like a Gmail number.
nobody's pulling the leg. I'm just asking you to find out who the fuck it is.
It's like,
Yeah.
get that number that's off of the thing, off of the number, off of the freaking, caller ID.
At the office?
Yeah, obviously. Because this is like a fucking bullshit game.
Well, they're not coming out on foot. They're not writing letters, and they're not calling the office because they have nothing better to do.
Well, I don't know what to tell you because I called that number myself.
Okay, well, let's call that number again and find out what the fuck's going on.
And nobody picks up. And you just try another number and left a message.
Okay, well,
I'm trying to get whoever's threatening your family and helping you guys out. And trying to help you guys out, but it's like if they don't pick up, then what the fuck?
I
It's like it's a fucking joke.
I understand that they fucking called this morning and they're waiting for the phone call. That's what I'm telling you. And since it's 3
The
times,
number or whatever that is that's calling you or your
the
family,
305,
whatever it is.
6570. You have the number.
Exactly. That number is obviously it's like a non-working number.
Okay, can you find out?
Okay, and it's like what I don't know how to describe. It's either somebody's pulling your phone, somebody is just harassing you, or somebody's trying to get something out of you.
Okay. Find out who the fuck it is, because the other phone call is going to be the FBI. I'm telling you. Well, I'm telling you, and then when they do catch the person, they're going to be asking lots of questions about who Katie is.
We already spoke about this. It's like not even like a fucking joke anymore, because obviously it's like somebody's fucking harassing you guys, or somebody's harassing and using my name. And it's like,
Okay,
I don't know.
think it through. Find out who the fuck it is. That's all I'm asking.
No, I'm not going to straight on my fucking cell phone because it's fucking bullshit. It's fucking somebody trying to fucking pinpoint some bullshit. Like it's getting aggravating.
Yeah, it is. All I'm saying is find out who the fuck it is and tell them to stop playing their games. I don't know who you have to talk to, but it needs to be missing the butt.
No, man, I'm gonna handle this shit myself, bro. Because this is some fucking bullshit. I'm gonna handle it my motherfucking self. Well, change my motherfucking number. They fucking if Erica wants to call back and like, oh, is this the right number? Okay, I have your fucking whatever fucking shit taken care of. Okay, because this is fucking bullshit.
Find
I'm
out.
correct, bro. I'm about to go to that fucking FBI. I'm fucking getting irate with this shit already. It's either the FBI fucking playing games or fucking whatever it is because I'm fucking getting pissed.
Alright, go find out.
Get
I'm saying.
the wrong phone number. Maybe you're an idiot. You gave a fucking wrong number. Get the fucking number to fucking call because I'm gonna call them.
Okay.
And the fucking side to me, I don't even fucking give a shit about all this fucking coach shit, whatever shit anymore. I'm pissed the fuck off. Like, I'm gonna fucking go to the house right now.
Okay, well, either you go to the cops or we go to the cops.
Exactly.
We'll find out.
We're
We'll
both
find
gonna
out
fucking go to the house because this is fucking bullshit.
We'll find out who the fuck this is. Because this person evidently knows you and knows your family.
Yeah,
They know me,
exactly.
they know my family.
You don't think that fucking scares the shit out of me? Like somebody fucking saying my name out loud or whatever?
If someone's messing with you, they're messing with me. If someone's messing with me, they're messing with you. It's one and the same. So what I'm saying is, find out who the fuck
That number doesn't
is.
fucking work. If you can get a hold, you go to different offices, call the motherfucking number. Keep the fucking number work. Bottom line. Because I tried myself and that shit does not work.
Katie, call them, find out who the fuck it is now. Trust me on this. Find out who the fuck it is.
Get the number, listen to me, and get the number and something all of the things because there were four people. I'm gonna call your parents to go fucking FBI. What else fucking doing this thing? And fucking go and fucking report whoever's harassing you. That's it.
Katie, gotta get back to it. You have the number I gave you the other day.
I have the fucking number. I have
Okay,
told
good.
you.
Call it.
Listen, I called the number. This is not a working number.
Good.
That's a number that calls your fucking office. Listen to me for once.
I will. You're going to call Erica.
Fucking A, bro. I'm gonna fucking fuck up whoever the fuck you fucking with me.
I'm going to call my mom and have my mom call
That's
your
a
office.
fucking number. Because some
Which number?
fucking parents, that number they call it, and that's not a working number. It's either somebody's ringing, somebody's having into some shit, and somebody's just trying to fucking aggravate somebody.
Okay, let me.
And I'm aggravated.
Do you want me to have Erica go on the caller ID and look to see what number that was that
It's a
called?
fucking number. Obviously, they're calling from somewhere else, and it's not the same number that you say. How about you call and find that out?
Do me a favor. Try that number I gave you the other day, and I'm going to call my mom and tell her to call Erica and ask her to look it up on the caller ID. Okay? But call me.
Whatever it is.
All right. Tension's rising a little bit.
A little bit. What the jury heard was not a simple exchange. It was layers, shared understanding, references that made sense only if both participants already understood the larger context. Two interpretations of the same recording. One led to a life sentence, and the jury had to choose. One of the quieter but deeply revealing moments in Charlie's testimony came when he was asked to recall the moment he first heard that Dan Markel had been shot. It was a simple question on the surface, but questions about memory, especially memory of devastating news connected to a crime, are never truly simple. What you are about to see is Charlie Adelson recalling the moment he heard that his former brother-in-law had been murdered. This is not about codes or wiretaps. This is a human moment, memory, emotion, and what they reveal or conceal about a person's inner world. Watch carefully, because different people watching this same moment came to very different conclusions.
When you get to the house, you said you called Katie after your shower. Why did you call her?
To see if she was still planning on coming over and what time she was going to be there, because it was already like 10:15.
And did she come to your house that night?
Yeah, she said she was going to be leaving shortly, and I think I even said either text me or call me when you're on your way.
Did she actually come to your house that evening?
Yes, she did.
Okay. Around what time did she arrive?
She got there about 11 o'clock.
What happened when she arrived?
When she arrived to my house, she came in through the garage, entered into the kitchen from the side door like she always does, and she just looked panicked and upset. I mean, she walked straight in and gives me this big, tight hug and asked me, like, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah, just a horrible day." But she looked more upset than I've ever seen her. I'm like, "Are you okay?" And she's like, "No, I'm not." I'm like, "What's wrong?" She's like, "Just come sit down. I need to talk to you."
Where did you go?
We walked into the living room.
And what happened when you got to the living room?
We sat down on the couch, and she started to talk to me. And she said, "Listen, this is all my fault, but I had no idea anything was going to happen, but this is totally my fault. I spoke in too much detail about your family's personal problems, about your sister, Dan Markel, and the $1 million offer."
What did you say?
I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And she's like, "My friend killed Dan, and he wants to be paid $1/3 of $1 million."
How did you react?
I was like, "What did you just say?" And she's like, "My friend killed Dan, and he wants you to pay $1/3 of $1 million."
What happened next?
I stood up, and I started cursing it. I'm like, "What the fuck? Are you kidding me?" And she's like, "No." I'm like, who did this? Who's your friend that did this?" And she's like, "I don't want to say. I can't say." And I said, who was it? And she just kept saying, "I'm not going to tell you." And I was like, was it Sigfredo? And she's like, "No, I'm not telling you." And I just walked in my bedroom and sat down on the edge of my bed.
What happened when you got in the bedroom?
She came into the bedroom, followed after me. She sat down next to me. She started telling me, like, "I'm so sorry. This is all my fault, but I didn't know any of this was going to happen. And I'm like, Katie, I'm not going to be part of this shit. Like, I'm not going to be part of paying for a murder. This is insane.
Supporters of the defense saw a man trying to recount a genuinely complicated emotional experience. The news of a death that threw his entire family into chaos. Others saw something different. The careful construction of a narrative that had been rehearsed and refined over years. As with so much in this case, what you see in that moment depends entirely on where you stand. And perhaps, just perhaps, where you stand says something about you too. As the trial moved toward its conclusion, Assistant State Attorney Georgia Kappelman delivered what observers described as methodical, intense, and deeply prepared. She had worked this case for years, and in her closing, she used that depth to construct what she called an irrefutable chain. She walked the jury through the money. $100,000, she argued, paid to Catherine Magbanua after Dan Markel's death. Money from the Adelson family with no legitimate explanation. She walked them through the relationships. Charlie and Magbanua romantically linked. Magbanua and Garcia as parents of 2 children. Garcia and Rivera as close friends and co-conspirators. Each link documented. She walked them through the timing. The custody battle escalating. Dan filing to restrict Donna's access to his children months before his death. A text thread between Charlie and Donna in 2014 showing the family pushing Wendy to abandon plans to buy a house in Tallahassee on the very same date investigators said Charlie first allegedly spoke to Magbanua about harming Markel. She walked them through the calls, the meetings, the money, and the words. And she framed the coded language argument in a way the prosecution hoped would land with the jury. People who are innocent do not talk in codes. People engaged in conspiracies do. The very ordinariness of those conversations was not evidence of innocence. It was evidence of premeditation. What you are about to hear is part of the prosecution's closing argument. Georgia Kappelman speaking directly to the jury before they deliberate. This is not a summary of evidence. This is a story told with precision and weight, and it is designed to make one conclusion feel not just possible, but inevitable.
In jury selection, we talked about the burden of proof and how it was my burden to prove this case to you beyond a reasonable doubt through evidence. And generally speaking, the defense's job is to poke holes in the evidence and argue that it falls short of meeting that high burden. And we also learned at jury selection that the defense does not have to prove anything. But sometimes if the law enforcement investigation is so thorough and so compelling that there's really no way to poke holes in the evidence, he has to basically admit his own words, his own text messages. That stuff is undeniable, right? And those things prove that he was in cahoots with Catherine Magbanua in 2013, through the murder in 2014, and all the way up until her arrest in October of 2016. He knows he can't deny that he paid the killers because of this bizarre practice he had of stapling his money. So sometimes when a defendant can't attack the facts or the law, they instead try to explain it away by saying, you can't trust what you're seeing. It's not what it appears to be. It's actually something else entirely. Often, as in this case, the individual explanation, so when you zoom in on one piece of evidence with its attached explanation, can be like, maybe. But when you zoom out and you add all these things together, this explanation, and this explanation, and this explanation, this coincidence, and this coincidence, and this coincidence, it starts making less and less sense. It starts being less and less reasonable. And when you zoom out from the defense's theory, it's really unreasonable, right? Because to find it reasonable, you have to buy a lot of things that he's selling. The most obvious of which is that because Sigfredo Garcia hated him, he and Rivera traveled to Tallahassee twice to kill someone he hated in hopes that he would give them money for it on the back end. Please think about that. To hit this defendant where it hurts, these two dudes with no connection at all to Dan Markel, and without 2 nickels to rub together, rented a car and paid for gas to come to Tallahassee and stay in a hotel twice in order to kill someone that this defendant hated, to harm him. And for what? To maybe get money? Maybe he just turns him in for murder. Why not just kill and rob him if what you're after is money and there's no hired hit? Why not just kill and rob him if your motive is, we hate him? Then the bad guys don't even have any contact with him, according to his own story. They didn't threaten him, they did not beat him into submission. Instead, they sent his own girlfriend to extort him on their behalf. And without any actual contact from the bad guys, the defendant just opened up his safe and handed over his beloved money that he had saved his entire life since he was a child. He just handed it over. Take it all. And when that amount wasn't sufficient, these stone-cold murdering gangsters let the defendant go on a payment plan to give him the rest of the money. They let Catherine McBanois skim off the top each month. And never, over the next 2 years that he was being extorted monthly, these gangsters, remember that money doesn't go to the principal, that $3,000 a month. They never show up to demand the remaining $195,000 that this defendant has agreed to pay them. Then, you also need to find reasonable that over the 2 years of this supposed extortion layaway plan, that the defendant continued to do what? Send these kissy faces and love texts to Catherine McBanois. He's sending these messages to a woman who got him into this mess, and he says he didn't suspect she was involved. What? What do we know about this man? He didn't suspect she was involved. She's taking the money. He's never even heard from the bad guys. He didn't see it that way, that she got him into this mess. They grew closer after she began extorting him for $3,000 a month. Meanwhile, the defendant and Catherine McBanois break up. She continues to maintain her direct and indirect contact with Sigfredo Garcia, the man who's extorting him, the man who murdered his former brother-in-law in cold blood. But he sees her as a friend. The kissy faces and the I love yous continue. Even after Catherine McBanois got back together with the man who executed Dan Markel, the father of his young nephews, and a guy who's actively extorting him, this defendant continued to reach out to her over and over again to offer her favors and gifts, including a birthday gift for Garcia, and to tell her he loves her and how lucky he is to have her in his life. Lucky? Next, to find a reasonable doubt here, you have to find it reasonable that the defendant never texted or talked about this first layer of extortion. Why? According to him, because Catherine McBanois said, let's never talk about this. So they didn't. Then you have to believe he never reported or revealed this information to law enforcement out of fear of the gangsters. And finally, you have to believe that this living in fear of death by gang members over 2 years didn't cause a change in his general demeanor that his friends noticed, but later the bump from law enforcement did. He says that's because, well, I became worried that I might be falsely arrested. So I wasn't a hot mess when I was being extorted by gang members and threatened to be killed and my whole family killed. But I became a hot mess when I started to get worried that the cops might be getting closer. And I have no real way of knowing if all this stuff sounds ridiculous to you, if it sounds reasonable to you, or if y'all just heard so much stuff that you're totally confused and can't even remember what the evidence in the case showed. But they only need to get one of you confused enough to derail this whole thing, right? So I've got to go through each thing with you. Your verdict has to be unanimous. So I want to go through the testimony, I want to review the evidence, and I want to spend a little bit more time talking about this multitude of explanations the defense has offered in an effort to really turn each piece of evidence on its head. This is Dan Markel. He is the victim in this case. A brilliant lawyer, a funny guy, a son, a colleague, a brother, a mentor, and a friend. But most of all, a father. A dedicated and loving father whose downfall was brought about by the fact that his number one priority was maximizing his access to those two little boys in the wake of a bitter divorce from their mother. And despite the defense's efforts to characterize their client as the real victim here, Dan Markel remains the only victim in this case. The only thing he was guilty of is fighting like hell for those kids. And he lost. He didn't lose in court, but he lost. This is what he looked like before this defendant hired a hitman to kill him. And this is what he looked like afterwards. The evidence has shown that on July 18th, 2014, this brilliant man was gunned down in broad daylight in the driveway of his own home. His horrific death ultimately set police down two separate paths following the two most promising leads they had. The first was to chase down that Prius that Mr. Geiger saw fleeing the crime scene. And we'll examine those efforts in detail. The second path was to ask, as we would in any murder investigation, who might want to have done this? Who would want Dan Markel dead?
That closing argument did what great closing arguments are meant to do. It arranged every individual piece of evidence into a narrative that felt inevitable once you had seen the whole picture. And it ended with a direct challenge to the jury. Given all of this, the money, the calls, the relationships, the timing, the language, can you honestly say there is reasonable doubt? Or does this, taken together, point in one clear direction? The defense had one final argument to make before the jury deliberated, and it was, in its own way, striking. Rashbaum pointed out what the prosecution could not fully answer. None of the direct participants in the killing had ever personally met Charlie Adelson. No fingerprint. No DNA, no document in his handwriting, no physical evidence tying him to the crime. Everything connecting him to the murder was either circumstantial, or it came through Catherine Magbanua, a woman already convicted of the same crime who the defense argued had every incentive to implicate Charlie in order to manage her own situation. Could 12 jurors reach certainty beyond a reasonable doubt? That question was about to be answered, and when it was, Charlie Adelson would not be ready for it. On November 6, 2023, 9 years, 4 months, and 19 days after Dan Markel was shot in his driveway, a jury in Tallahassee returned to the courtroom with its verdict. The room was still, the kind of stillness that only exists in certain moments, when something enormous is about to become permanent. Dan Markel's parents, Ruth and Phil, were present. His sister Shelley was present. Friends who had spent years advocating for justice were present. The Markel family had waited a very long time for this moment. What you're about to see is the moment the verdict was announced. Watch Charlie Adelson's face. Watch his body. Watch the shift in the room. No preparation fully reaches the moment when years of argument collapse into a single word.
The verdict form is in its proper order. Madam Clerk, please publish the verdict.
In the Circuit Court of the 2nd Judicial Circuit in and for Leon County, Florida, the State of Florida versus Charles Adelson, case number 2016 CF 3036B, verdict. Count 1. We, the jury, find as follows as to count 1 of the indictment, first-degree murder. The defendant is guilty of first-degree murder. Count 2. We, the jury, find as follows as to count 2 of the indictment, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. The defendant is guilty of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. Count 3. We, the jury, find as follows as to count 3 of the indictment, solicitation to commit first-degree murder. The defendant is guilty of solicitation to commit first-degree murder. So say we all this 6th day of November, 2023.
Guilty on all 3 counts. First-degree murder, conspiracy to commit murder, solicitation to commit murder. The man who had maintained his innocence for years, who had testified in his own defense, who had pushed back at every accusation. That man now stood convicted of planning and financing the killing of his former brother-in-law. Ruth Markel, speaking to reporters, said her family felt relief and gratitude. This has been a really long and terrible ordeal, she said. It's taken a real toll on our lives. Georgia Kappelman said she felt grateful that years of work had been validated. And for those who had followed this case from the beginning, the verdict carried the full weight of everything that had come before. It was not an ending. It was the opening of the final chapter. In the days after the verdict, as Charlie awaited sentencing, a recorded jailhouse call between Charlie and his mother Donna was captured. It was not evidence submitted in open court for his case, but it was a moment that revealed the full human dimension of what this case had become. A son convicted of murder, a mother about to be charged with the same crime, speaking to each other in the quiet, intimate language of people who have known each other their entire lives. What you're about to hear is a jailhouse call between Charlie Adelson and his mother Donna made on the day of his conviction. Whatever you believe about this case, this is a deeply human moment. A son and a mother in the shadow of a verdict that has changed everything. Listen not just to what is said, listen to what is felt.
Hello, this is a prepaid collect call from
Charlie.
an incarcerated individual at the Leon County Jail. This call is not private. It will be recorded and may be monitored. If you believe this should be a private call, please hang up and follow facility instructions to register this number as a private number. To accept charges and consent to this recorded call, press 1.
Thank you for using Securus. You may start the
Charlie.
conversation now.
Charlie.
Hey. Hey there, how are you?
How are you?
Okay.
I'm all right.
Where are you? Are you still in that cell?
Yeah, I'm still in here. So the chief's going to see me at some point today, and whenever he comes through, and then supposedly Dan's going to come to the jail, and I asked them, they said when your attorneys get here, they'll take you out to see them. I'm sure I'll see them behind glass.
So I thought Dan. I didn't know that Dan went. I didn't know if he went home or not yesterday.
No, he's driving home today.
Okay. So they will let you see him today.
Yeah, but I mean, it's going to be behind glass. I'm going to be picking up a phone, talking to him through a sheet of glass.
So, did you get sleep last night?
Yeah, on and off. I mean, they got the lights on. It's bright in here. It's like I just wanted to call and say hi. I don't even know why.
No,
that's okay.
I'm glad you said it. I was actually just talking to Dan, so it's not like we were sleeping.
Yeah.
But,
You were talking to Dad or Dan?
Dan.
It's cold.
Yeah, but, gonna have to talk when we have a moment about things that we need to take care of, okay?
Yeah, I know the money and stuff like that. No, I got you.
Roman.
What?
And I have things I need to take care of for Roman and ways that we can take care of him and help him. So there's that, which is the most important. And then and figuring out about the dog. So gotta take care of things, Charlie. We gotta
It's like I'm dead. I mean, I hate to tell you this. It ain't a whole lot different. Oh, fuck.
No, please, I know.
Oh, fuck. I listen to everybody.
That call captures something no closing argument can fully reach. Whatever the truth is about 2014, this was a mother and son in one of the worst moments either of them had ever faced. And the question it raises is one this case returns to again and again. How far does family loyalty go? Where does love end and responsibility begin? 11 days after Charlie's conviction, on November 13th, 2023, Donna Adelson was arrested at Miami International Airport. She was carrying a one-way ticket to Vietnam, a country with no extradition treaty with the United States. Her attorney maintained she was not fleeing. She pleaded not guilty. Her trial would come nearly 2 years later. On December 12th, 2023, Charlie Adelson stood in a Tallahassee courtroom for the last time as a free man facing a judge. The outcome was not in question. Florida law on first-degree murder is unambiguous. What you are about to see is the sentencing of Charlie Adelson. The defense will speak. The prosecution will speak. And then the sentence will be delivered. This is the moment consequences become permanent. Watch what it does to a person when that final word is spoken.
Counts be run concurrently.
Very well. Mr. Adelson, I'm going to give you the opportunity to make a statement if you wish. You do not have to speak. However, this is your opportunity if you choose to do so.
I do.
Very well. Please rise. I am now going to pronounce the sentence. As to count 2, you are going to be sentenced consecutively to 30 years in the Department of Corrections for conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. As to count 3, you are going to be sentenced to 30 years in the Department of Corrections consecutively for solicitation to commit first-degree murder. The credit for time served that applies in this matter is how much?
597.
597 days will be applied as credit for time served in this case. If the clerk could please read all fees and costs that would apply as well.
$2,100 as a fine pursuant to Florida Statute 775.083, $105 as a 5% surcharge required by Florida Statute 938.04, $20 as a court cost pursuant to Florida Statute 938.06, Crime Stopper Trust Fund, $3 as a court cost pursuant to Florida Statute 938.01, subsection 1, Criminal Justice Trust Fund, $50 pursuant to Florida Statute 938.03, Crimes Compensation Trust Fund, $225 pursuant to Florida Statute 938.05, Local Government Criminal Justice Trust Fund, $2 as a court cost pursuant to Florida Statute 938.15, County Criminal Justice Education, County Code 7-26, $50 as a court cost pursuant to Florida Statute 775.083, subsection 2, County Crime Prevention, $3 as a court cost pursuant to Florida Statute 938.19, Teen Florida Assessment, Mayor County Florida Code 7-28, $65 as a court cost pursuant to Florida Statute 939.185, County Additional Court Cost, County Code 7-24, with a total of $2,623.
Mr. Rauschbaum, is there any lawful objection for you to raise to the assessment as announced by the clerk?
No, Your Honor.
Those amounts will be assessed at this time. Ms. Kappelman, I will reserve 90 days of jurisdiction to address the cost of prosecution in this case. By statute, the state is entitled to the 100, but this is in excess of the 100 is what you're referring to.
Yes, Your Honor.
Very well. 30 days to appeal both your conviction and now your sentence. Mr. Adelson, you are going to be fingerprinted today, and from here you are going to be sent to the Department of Corrections to begin serving your sentence. Mr. Rauschbaum, if you please, can timely file the notice of appeal so that way there is no issues regarding any review of the conviction itself. Does either party have anything further to raise to the court before we finish for today?
Nothing from the state.
No, Your Honor.
We are in recess. Mr. and Mrs. Markel, have a good day. Thank you for being available so you can provide your victim impact statements. Have a good day.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Cheyenne, you can take this. This is the pre-sentence investigation information. Two count one.
Charlie Adelson was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole for first-degree murder. An additional 30 years consecutive for conspiracy to commit murder. And another 30 years consecutive for solicitation. The 597 days he had already served were credited as time served. The South Florida periodontist who had driven a Ferrari and built an affluent life in Miami would spend the rest of his natural life behind bars. Dan Markel's family addressed the court. They spoke about a brilliant scholar and devoted father, about 9 years of grief and legal battles, and about the two little boys, Benjamin and Lincoln, who had grown up without their father and now carried the Adelson name. Those boys were 4 and 5 when their father was shot. They are teenagers today. They grew up in the shadow of this case, in a shadow of secrets and decisions made before they were old enough to understand any of it. That fact, more than any courtroom moment, captures the true and total human cost of what happened in Tallahassee in the summer of 2014. The story did not end with Charlie's sentencing, because the questions that drove this investigation were always larger than any one person. Investigators had long believed the full truth involved more than those already convicted. And now the focus was shifting. Donna Adelson was charged. Her trial was coming. And when it finally arrived, new witnesses, new confessions, and new details would emerge that none of the observers of this case had fully anticipated. The trail was not finished. Not even close. Charlie filed an appeal of his conviction on December 31st, 2023. His defense team argued he had been denied a fair trial. They cited a conflict of interest. In January 2025, a circuit judge denied his request for resentencing. As of early 2026, his defense team is still pursuing their appeal at the First District Court of Appeal, arguing he was denied a fair and impartial trial and asking for his convictions to be overturned. That appeal is active as this video is being produced. The legal story of Charlie Adelson is not entirely finished. Donna Adelson's path to trial was long. Her first scheduled trial in September 2024 collapsed before it began. Her attorney withdrew on the very first day of jury selection. A new date was set. On August 22nd, 2025, Donna Adelson's murder trial finally began. She was 75 years old, and what emerged at her trial added extraordinary new layers to this already extraordinary story. Catherine Magbanua, now serving a life sentence, took the stand and admitted in open court that she had coordinated Dan Markel's murder at Charlie Adelson's request. She confirmed she was the link between the Adelson family and Garcia and Rivera. Luis Rivera also testified, and added a detail that had not been in the public record before. He claimed that Wendy Adelson herself had advised Magbanua about the best day to carry out the killing. Wendy has not been charged and continues to deny any knowledge of the plot. A witness named Patricia Bird testified that Donna Adelson had offered her land, a trailer, and dental work in exchange for lying on Donna's behalf, and that Donna had confessed to her involvement in the murder. It was stunning testimony, contested by the defense, but it went before the jury. On September 4th, 2025, the jury found Donna Adelson guilty on all 3 counts. On October 13th, 2025, she was sentenced to life in prison. She has since filed a notice of appeal. As of the time this script was produced, both Charlie and Donna Adelson are serving life sentences in Florida prisons. Both are appealing. The wheel of justice in this case is still turning. The jury in Charlie Adelson's trial reached their verdict. Guilty. That is the legal answer. 5 people have now been convicted in connection with Dan Markel's murder. The courts have spoken. The sentences have been delivered. For many people, including Dan Markel's family, that represents justice however long it took and however painful the journey was to reach it. But here's the question I want you to sit with. Not whether the jury got it right. Something deeper than that. What does it mean when the strongest evidence in a murder conspiracy case is not a fingerprint, not a weapon, not a document, not an eyewitness to the actual transaction, but conversations about rental properties and birthday dinners that prosecutors interpreted as something other than what they appear to say? You can answer that question 2 ways. 1, it means the conspirators were sophisticated and careful, and the prosecution did extraordinary work to uncover what was really being communicated. 2, it means we should be very careful about convicting people based on what we believe words secretly mean, rather than what they actually say. Both of those answers can be held by thoughtful, reasonable people, and both of them are worth holding at the same time. That tension between the weight of evidence and the limits of interpretation is exactly what makes this case unlike any other true crime story you have encountered. Dan Markel spent his career thinking about questions exactly like this one. He was one of the most qualified people in the country to analyze the intersection of evidence, interpretation, and justice. He wrote about punishment. He wrote about what the criminal justice system owes the people caught in its machinery. He thought carefully, publicly, and rigorously about how we decide who is guilty and what we do to them. And he was silenced before any of this began. That is perhaps the deepest irony in a case full of dark ironies. The man at the center of this story, the victim, would have had something profound and worth hearing to say about all of it. He never got the chance. This case is not over. Charlie Adelson is appealing his conviction. Donna Adelson is appealing hers. Harvey Adelson and Wendy Adelson remain unindicted co-conspirators. Neither has been charged. Benjamin and Lincoln Markel, the 2 little boys at the center of every custody filing, every alleged motive, every decision that led to this case, are growing up right now, somewhere in South Florida, carrying a name that is now inseparable from one of the most extraordinary true crime stories in recent American history. Dan Markel taught criminal law. He believed in justice. He believed in accountability. He believed the purpose of the criminal justice system was not simply punishment, but something deeper, something about what we owe each other when we harm one another, and what a society says about itself through how it responds. He wrote about it. He taught it. He lived it. And now, more than a decade after his death, his own case has become exactly the kind of legal and moral puzzle he dedicated his life to exploring. The kind of case where reasonable people look at the same evidence and reach different conclusions. Where every answer opens another question. Where the trail never fully ends. This is Dark Trail Files. We follow the trail, wherever it goes, however long it takes, however complicated the terrain. If this story challenged you, moved you, or made you see something you had not seen before, this channel is where you belong. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and stay with us, because the next story is already waiting.